Thank you so much. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? We all know this story. The queen stands before her mirror, asking the same question over and over again. But here is what we forget. She already knows the answer. She just can't accept it. Because the real question she's asking, the question every single person in this room is asking when we stand before that mirror is, am I enough? And just like the queen, we keep asking, because somewhere down, we stop believing that the answer could be yes. I stood before that mirror for years. I've built companies across continents. I have a beautiful family, 3 sons. I stood on the most prestigious stages in the world. But still, every single morning, I would stand in front of my bedroom mirror and I would hear a relentless voice that said, not good enough, too much, too quiet, too ambitious, too broken, too sensitive, too different. That voice, why I should try harder or be smaller or be louder, be different, be someone else. If you have ever heard that voice that tells you that you are not enough, I'm here to tell you today that that voice is the biggest lie you will ever hear. Because that voice isn't telling you the truth about who you are. It's telling you who you learn to become to survive. Let me introduce you to something that I call the architecture of who you are. Imagine for a second that you are a building, not just any building, a building with a very specific original design, a unique blueprint drawn before when you were born, with your natural temperature, the way you sense the world, how you make decisions, how you connect with others, what energizes you, what depletes you. That is your original blueprint, the architecture of who you truly are, before the world started editing you. But here is what happens early in that beautiful original architecture when it meets the condition. The condition is what is praised, what is punished, what is safe, what is dangerous, what gets you loved, what gets you abandoned. And to survive, because we are wired to survive, we are wired to belong, we start editing ourselves. We amplify certain traits, we hide others. We build a version of ourselves that fits, that's acceptable, that keeps us at the table. I call this your survival self. Your original blueprint here, your survival self over here. The problem isn't that the survival self is bad. It saved you, it protected you. It was incredibly intelligent. The problem comes when you forget it's a strategy and start believing it is your identity. Most of us are not struggling with who we are. We are struggling with the cost of betraying who we are to be, to keep our place at the table. It's like driving with 1 foot on the escalator and 1 foot on the brake. You move, but you burn out your inner engine. You perform, you achieve, you succeed, but something feels hollow. You look at your life from the outside and think, I should be happy. Why am I not happy? And your body tells you the truth before your mind will. You start feeling exhausted. That rest doesn't fix. A heaviness you cannot shake, even when everything looks good on paper. A quiet voice inside that keeps whispering, this isn't right. That voice is not your anxiety. That is your original self trying to come back home. I remember the exact moment. I was in a small church on a family holiday in Switzerland. And I felt nothing, just emptiness and exhaustion and this deep aging loneliness. Not because I was alone, but because I have abandoned myself so completely that I didn't even know who I was anymore. And then something shifted. I realized that real change doesn't begin with fixing yourself. It begins with accepting yourself. Not the acceptance of who you should be, acceptance of who you actually are. Because here is what I discovered. Your imperfection are not mistakes. They are your design. The parts of you that you have been fighting, the sensitivity one, the intensity, the way you think differently, the way you feel too much or too little, the way you need space or need connection. Those aren't bugs in the system. They are your futures. When I start coming back home to my original blueprint, everything changed. I stopped performing in relationship and start showing up as myself. And you know what happened? The right people stayed and the wrong ones left without even trying. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly seen, but by me, but all the versions of me. I stopped building businesses based on what I thought would impress people and start building from my actual values and energy. And they succeeded, not because I worked harder, but because I was finally in alignment. I stopped making decisions from fear and started making them from truth. And here is what I need you to hear. When you rebuild that relationship with yourself, every other relationship in your life has to either deepen or rearrange. Some relationships will not survive your authentic self, and that's so fine, that's okay. Because the ones that do, they become home. They become real. They become your safety net. Mirror, mirror on the wall, the person you have looking for, the one who's whole, worthy, and enough, is not somewhere out there, not in the next achievement, not in the next relationship, not in the next version of yourself. That person is already here. She has been here all along, underneath the survival strategies, underneath the performance, underneath the fear. He or she has been waiting for you to come home. Your next chapter doesn't begin when you become perfect. It begins when you accept that you already are imperfectly, beautifully, powerfully enough. Thank you.